Hello. I got a question this week from an agent that I get pretty regularly, so I thought it was worth discussing with you. In this case, our agent represented the buyer. They were in escrow, it was 60 days long, and it had all the boilerplate contingencies. Well, on day 20, for the first time, our agent got two things. Number one, they got a disclosure of a prior sewer problem at the property. And number two, the seller served a notice to buyer to perform, demanding that within 2 days, the buyer remove all contingencies. Of course, the question to me was, how much time does the buyer have to deal with the notice to perform, given the fact that the sewer disclosure was late? Does the buyer have to deal with it in 2 days, or do they have 5 days because of the late disclosure? So let's talk about that and talk about how you should deal with this situation. The first thing to remember is that when we're looking at the RPA in this regard, we're doing a legal analysis, and we have to apply the rules of a legal interpretation of a contract. And when we do that, we need to remember that when a client or a party to a contract breaches that contract, we need to see what damages are directly caused by that breach. So in our case, we have a late disclosure of sewer problems. Well, that means what damage, what issue for the buyer did that late disclosure cause? Well, obviously, it limited the amount of time the buyer would have to look into it, to do their own inspections, to bring out some kind of invasive inspection, etc. But it did not affect any of the other contingencies in the contract. In other words, that late disclosure did not impact the HOA docs. It did not impact other disclosures. It did not impact anything else but the sewer. So how do we deal with it? Well, what we do is analyze the notice to perform in two different ways: everything else and the sewer. We talk to our buyer about all the other inspections. Are they ready to remove all those contingencies? If they are, we take out the contingency removal form and we check box 1B, which says all contingencies except. Then we go down and we check the other box, and in the line next to that, we write something like seller's sewer disclosure dated X. In other words, we hold back only those items that are directly impacted by the seller's late disclosure. In our story, the sewer issues. Everything else we perform on the normal timeframes as if there was no problem on the seller's side, because their late disclosure did not impact those issues. So narrowly withhold and perform everything else according to the contract, and that way you protect your buyer. The seller could never cancel for failure to remove that sewer issue when they delivered it late, but they could maybe do that on the other contingencies. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks a lot.